Hey, you with the half-empty wineskin and the look that says, I could eat for horses, but we'll settle for something wrapped in crust. Welcome to Cookshop Row, the medieval answer to your 2 a.m. drive-thru cravings. Minus the neon, plus a suspicious amount of sawdust on the floor. Slide up, keep your purse where you can see it, and maybe don't breathe too deeply. The aroma is 90% roasted goose and 10% civic neglect. You arrived at daybreak, which in this town feels less like sunrise and more like a collective sneeze of market noise. Bells clang, pigs squeal, and somewhere a monk is already regretting his vow of silence, because the waffle iron guy is yelling wafers hot, crisp as a bishop's conscience. First stop, the pie stall. The vendor lets call him Godfrey, because he swears by God every third word, lifts a lid to reveal a steamy battalion of handheld meat pies. Think of them as the medieval hot pocket, except the pocket is large rich pastry, and the filling might be anything from mutton to mystery bird that died of natural causes, we promise. Pies are the reigning kings of portable calories. London S records list whole guilds of pea bakers slinging these calorie grenades to apprentices on the run. You grab one. The crust is flaky, the steam scalds your tongue, and the spice mix could pass for currency in some smaller counties. You don't ask about freshness. Asking, is this from today? Only invites the answer to find today. Turn 90 degrees, and you'll meet Agnes the Fritter Witch. She's got a cauldron, not metaphorical, a literal iron cauldron of oil, burbling like a jealous gossip. Into it, she flicks spoonfuls of batter studded with apple slivers and a scandalous dash of imported sugar. The sizzling hiss is the medieval version of the McDonald's French fry chime. Every kid within sniff radius shows up clutching pennies that still smell of the tannery. Agnes hands you a fritter that drips down your wrist. No napkins, friend. She tells you sugar's good for the humors. You suspect it's better for her profits. Whatever, one bite and you're sold. Crispy edge, gooey core, a hit of cinnamon that traveled farther than most crusaders. Now let's talk waffles. Sorry, wafers. Over by the church gate stands Brother Crispin with his portable iron. The contraption looks like two small shields hinged together. Pressed over a brazier, pours a thin batter, murmurs a blessing, and produces a wafer so light it might float off if not for the dollop of honey he slathers on top. Street monks selling sweets, proof that medieval life was basically a Renaissance fair with more plague. Pro tip, if you're counting coins, wafers cost less than pies, but more than stale bread. There the I have disposable income, but not guildmaster money snack. Hold yours like a sacrament. You're across from the cathedral after all. The fish barsari, the fried herring corner. Imagine a chalkboard menu written by someone who can't write. Instead, there are carved wooden fish dangling from a post. The proprietor Hendrik of the estuary serves strips of salted herring dredged in coarse rye flour, flash fried, and sprinkled with vinegar strong enough to pickle hope itself. Perfect breakfast, provided you're okay smelling like a dock worker for the rest of the month. You want soup? We've got portable soup. A cookshop ladles pottage-thick, slow-cooked vegetable, mush into hollowed-out bread rounds. It's culinary dual-use technology. Edible bowl plus semi-nutritious sludge. Slurp it, then chew the container. Eco-friendly before it was cool, mostly because pottery's expensive and plates walk off if you blink. A word about hygiene because you're already wondering? Yes, some stalls reuse yesterday's oil, and 5-second rule here means as long as the rat hasn't tea-dragged it away yet. City ordinances occasionally fine vendors for spoiled meat, but enforcement is shakier than the wooden spoon currently doubling as a fly swatter. Inspectors do surprise visits after lunch, naturally, when the evidence is eaten or buried under fresh pepper. Cue the traveling pie hawker. Unlike Godfrey, this guy roams, balancing a tray of miniature pies on his head like a savory halo. He rings a handbell and shouts pies hot. Meat or fruit, your choice guess. Which choppers swarm him the way pigeons swarm anything carbohydrate-shaped. The smart money is on fruit pies before noon. Meat pies after a lacklick. Let's address the elephant in the cookshop. Speed. Medieval fast means the food is already cooked when you arrive. No drive-thru window, but you can stroll up, tap a coin on the stall, and leave chewing within 30 seconds unless you've requested the extra gravy special, in which case the ladle is still looking for a clean spot to ladle from. Cookshops cluster near city gates and market squares precisely because most townsfolk lack home kitchens. Buying supper on the street is cheaper than bribing your landlord not to notice you rerunning an illegal brazier. Time for dessert part 2 because fritter counts as breakfast, obviously. You spy a wafer with a second-day batch of gingerbread squares. Medieval gingerbread is more like spiced energy bars, breadcrumbs, honey, ginger, pepper, and a splash of wine. Kneaded into dense bricks, sturdy enough to survive a siege. He stamps each square with a wooden mold showing St. George slaying a dragon, which is marketing code for eat me, feel heroic. Totally ignore the dental risk. Hydration checkpoint, street ale. Yes, it's weak. Yes, it's safer than well water. No, it's not free. Cup costs as much as a humbled cheese skewer. Think grilled cheese on a stick. Medieval innovation at its finest. Cheese seller claims the parchment dry rind protects the gooey center from miasmas. You decide not to translate that. It ruins the romance. Suddenly a trumpet blast royal procession incoming. Vendors yank burlap over suspect bowls, swap spoiled fish for decorative herbs, and shout prices that rise faster than a cathedral spire. You, being savvy, step back into the shadows of a doorway that doubles as the local public latrine. When the entourage passes, prices deflate like a week-old trencher. Speaking of trenchers, yesterday's bread loaves, sliced horizontally, sold as edible plates to folks who want to look posh, but lack servants to carry real wood platters. Eat your pottage, then gnaw your trencher. Bonus carbs, plus the chance someone will mistake you for minor nobility, slumming it for the vibe. Ever-present background soundtrack, town criers reading out the latest ordinance against rotten fish pies, kids chanting rude rhymes about cooks, and the splat of chamber pots being emptied far too close to your boots. It's a festival of flavor and microbiological roulette. Mid-morning snack, try a hotcake. Think medieval pancake. Odor wheat batter ladled onto a greased iron griddle. Cook flips it with the same dagger he uses to cut apples. Sanitation multitasking. A drizzle of clarified butter, a pinch of sage. Suddenly breakfast number 4 is in the bag. You pause, surveying your haul. Meat pie crumbs on your tunic. Fritter sugar crusting your fingertips. Vinegar fish funk, radiating like an olfactory halo. Congratulations. You are now a walking summary of urban nutrition circa 1,350. But the day is young, the fryer is eternal, and rumor whispers of a new vendor near the Guildhall, selling stuffed buns imported from the Hanseatic leek bread rolls, hollowed out and filled with minced pork, raisins and cloves baked until the outside splits like a happy accident. You set off, coins jangling, arteries trembling in anticipation. Right? Intrepid snacker still standing? Good loosen that belt cord, you? L need the extra notch? Follow the river of humanity as it sloshes from Cookshop Row into the great market square. Think of the square as a medieval food court. If the food court also sold piglets, sermons, and plague remedies made of powdered emerald. So smell that hits you, roasting chestnuts. A boy no older than your left boot is tending a copper pan over charcoal. He stirs with a stick that might once have been a saint's finger, judging by the reverence he shows it. Chestnuts crack, skins blister, and the scent punches straight through your sinuses like a polite battering ram. You buy a handful because they double as hand warmers and snack the medieval equivalent of a latte in mittens. But the real showstopper is the spit roast stall. Picture a cedar wood rotisserie the length of a wagon, turning skewered meats that progress in social status from scrawny sparrow near the fire's dead zone to whole hog in the prime heat. The spitmaster, a man with arms like boiled ham, boasts that his seasoning mix includes 3 kinds of pepper, 2 of which haven't even been invented yet. He slices you a chunk of pork glazed with honey and mustard seed, wraps it in a scrap of parchment, and tells you to chew counterclockwise for full spiritual benefit. You obey because the last person who challenged him still has a visible tooth mark in their helmet. Over by the fountain, the dairy girls run a pop-up cheese bar. Wheels of soft sheep's cheese sit in shallow wooden tubs of brine. Need a hunger stopper? They'll carve you a wedge, thread it onto a rosemary twig, and hit it with a red-hot iron for a smoky blistered crust. Street fondue, minus the fondue pot, plus the lingering fear of tetanus. Sudden ruckus. A cart of live eels overturns, slithering across cobbles like animated bootlaces. Half the square erupts into shrieks. The other half sprints forward, waving cleavers, because fried eel bites are the afternoon's trending delicacy. One agile vendor corrals 4 of the escapees into a bucket, boxes them about the ears for good measure, then promises eel pies fresh by sundown. Speaking of pies, let's dive into the sweet side. A ginger-haired baker named Tilda has reinvented the humble custard tart as a handheld miracle. She pours saffron-tinted custard into thumb-sized pastry shells, bakes them until the surface freckles, then dusts each tart with sugar ground so fine it levitates in the afternoon light. You try one? The custard is silk, the crust is butter and bravado, and there is a chance you've just tasted someone's entire dowry and spice budget alone. Across the lane, a sausage peddler jingles tiny bells on his hat. Each jingle allegedly keeps evil spirits away, though cynics claim it just draws customers. His sausages come pre-cooked, coiled inside a warmed rye bun that soaks up the grease like a pious sponge. Secret ingredient: fresh marjoram. Non-secret ingredient: everything else left over from the morning's butchery. You order one because you respect thrift, or at least because the smell is rewriting your morals on the fly. Hydration round 2. Mulled cider, ladled from an iron cauldron bobbing with orange rinds, cloves, and the apple seller's hopes of retiring before his teeth do. The vendor offers a complimentary travel lid, which is, in fact, a disc of stale bread. You clap it over the cup. Cider steams, bread softens, an edible lid plus post-drink snack. Modern sustainability could never. Just beyond the cider line, the spice merchant's apprentice hawks miracle dipping powder for fried goodies. It's mostly salt, pepper, and a whisper of ginger, but he sells it like the philosopher's stone ground to table spice. An actual stone sits on his counter-marketing prop. He dares passers-by to lick it for luck. 2 brave souls try. Both immediately purchase spice packets to chase the taste of despair off their tongues. Genius. Intermission for municipal drama. Town beadle storms through, waving a parchment proclaiming new price caps on bread. Bakers collectively groan, cursing the mayor and the mayor's pet goat. Ever the opportunist, a pretzel girl shouts, "No mention of pretzels on that scroll, lads." Crowd surges her way, and within moments, she's sold out, laughing like an archangel on bonus day. Let's wander to the fringe of the square where things get experimental. There you'll find Roland's fiery turnip crispers. Roland claims that by slicing turnips thin and dropping them in hot lard, he achieves a potato chip adjacent. Crunch never mind that potatoes haven tea skydropped into Europe yet. He seasons them with smoked salt and powdered lovage, then serves them in cones rolled from yesterday's sermon sheets. You crunch one. Surprisingly addictive, though you can tea-shake the feeling the bishop's words now have grease stains shaped like devil horns. Beside Roland, an enterprising widow advertises portable stool nestic. Translation: she ladles thick venison stew into hollowed turnip bowls, then skewers the whole turnip with a sharpened spoon handle for easy transport. It's heavy, it drips, burns your wrist if you're not careful, but it solves the eternal problem of wanting soup but needing to walk. You snag one, because wrist scars build character. Overhead, the sun's high enough to fry larks, and so is every cookpot. Heat haze turns the square into a wobbly mirage of sizzling oils, perspiring merchants, and knights complaining that their helmets smell like bacon. Which is, come to think of it, a strangely marketable fragrance. Someone should bottle that. Flash mob of minstrels incoming. They launch into a ballad about a lovesick baker who eloped with his own dough. Vendors tip them with leftover crusts. Onlookers tip with coins. One admirer tips with a jug of ale, at which point the lyrics devolve into creative rhymes for custard. You slip away toward the alley, nicknamed Pudding Lane Jr., where renegade cooks test recipes to outlaw for the main square. Here's one. A hollow eggshell carefully refilled with spiced meat mousse, sealed with wax, then roasted in embers until the shell browns. Crack it open, and you've got egg surprise. The surprise is how much cumin they managed to fit in there. Another mad genius is trialing jellied mead cubes. He boils mead with fish bladder gelatin, cooling it in wooden molds until it sets into wobbling gold squares. Pop one in your mouth, and it melts back into booze halfway down your throat, a medieval jello shot. Minus the regret. A hush ripples through the alley. Oh, word is out. A messenger from the nearby castle is on the way, searching for the quickest vendor who can cater a surprise feast for visiting dignitaries. Instantly, every cook present begins rearranging signs to read castle quality, noble speed, or the more honest we work cheap. Cue the spectacle cook. A burly fellow wearing a hat made from 2 frying pans, back-to-back fashion, or head protection, you decide. He sets up a flat steel griddle the size of a cart door, then pours batter in concentric circles, dropping chopped bacon and minced onion between layers. In moments, he folds the lot into a roulade, slices it into spirals, and calls them night rolls. They look like cinnamon buns from a dimension ruled by cholesterol. The messenger samples one, nods, and scribbles something on a wax tablet. Contract secured. Panet beams like a sunrise on lard. Meanwhile, you're lured by an herby aroma drifting from under a ragged canvas. There, a wiry woman named Jezebel broils herb-stuffed mushrooms on skewers fashioned from rosemary branches. Each mushroom cap is crammed with soft cheese, minced garlic, and breadcrumbs soaked in wine. She hands you one, warns mind the lava filling, then fans it with a goose feather. You wait because mouth blisters are adorable on toddlers, less so on full-grown snack champions. One cautious bite. Earthy, gooey, addictively peppery. Consider proposing marriage. She counters with by a second skewer. Fair trade. Crisis narrowly avoided, a stray dog absconds with the sausage peddler's entire demo coil. The crowd cheers for the underdog. The sausage man curses in 5 languages, one of which might be original. Business as usual. Time for a palate cleanser, and to the snow merchant. Yes, snow. Block of last winter's mountain snow stored in a deep cellar all year, shaves it into a wooden bowl, drizzles it with berry syrup, and tops it with candied fennel seeds. Medieval sorbet, folks. Proof that luxury sometimes travels on muleback in burlap sacks. You spoon slurp chilled bliss while peasants stare like you just licked starlight. Bell toll echoes afternoon prayers. Market noise dips as the devout kneel. Vendors pause their hawking, some crossing themselves with greasy fingers, except for Agatha, the pretzel baroness. She mutters a quick prayer to Saint Carbohydrate and resumes twisting dough at record speed. Spirituality and profit braided tighter than her pretzels. Back in the main square, a puppet show distracts children while parents shop. The puppets reenact the legend of St. Lawrence, patron of cooks, famously roasted alive. Audience laughs at the punchline. Turn me over, I'm done on this side. Dark humor pairs well with roast meat fumes, apparently. You notice the sun is tilting westward, shadows stretching like cats after a nap. Vendors start muttering about evening prep. You realize you've nibbled your way through half the square yet barely scratched the menu. The torchlit meat parade, a dozen braziers line the avenue like runway lights for grease-powered angels. Vendors spear everything that once had a pulse, from quail, the size of teacups, to sausages, so long they need 2 apprentices to keep them from lashing the public. Smoke spirals up, carrying notes of juniper, onion, and unspoken sin. The star attraction is Beldrick's whole beast wheel. Picture a hamster wheel, supersized, with a hog strapped inside instead of a rodent. The hog turns as it roasts. Baldrick ladles ale over the crackling skin, declaring it internal seasoning via osmosis. You're 90% sure that's not how osmosis works. But the glaze drips amber, and the crowd chants like a cult, so who are you to argue? You fork over coin for a slab the size of your forearm. One bite. The rind explodes like pork-flavored bubble wrap. The fat runs down your wrist. And whatever arteries you plan to use tomorrow, file a formal complaint. Worth it. 2. The Alandod's bar across the lane, a makeshift tavern, canvas roof, plank bar. Implausible optimism does brisk trade in night ale. The barkeep hands you a wooden tankard carved from an old lute body. You can still see faint music notes where the ale has erased the ink. Standard tavern snacks appear in bowls no one ever cleans properly. Salted broad beans, honey-roasted chickpeas, and dried apple rings tough enough to resole shoes. You claim a stool that looks like it once lost a duel with termites and sip cautiously. The ale hits like warm bread, then uppercuts like a blacksmith's handshake. Conversation around you ricochets from politics to plague rumors, to which fried eel stand sells the crunchiest tales. 3. Lanternfish and other bioluminescent thrills. At the square's edge, foreign trader with eyes sharper than his knives hawks, lanternfish skewers tiny river fish, marinated in garlic and firefly jelly, until they glow faintly green. He swears the glow helps night watchmen spot you, which is either safety marketing or the best mugger beacon ever invented. You buy two because eating a mystical glow stick is peak bragging rights. They taste like citrusy trout crossed with garlic bread that's been studying necromancy. Your tongue glows for 3 minutes. You spend them grinning at children until they scream delight and/or mild horror. For Similigal cheese, raclette around the next bend, the town's one rebellious shepherd. Bertroda the Wayward has contraband alpine cheese melting under smuggled coals. She scrapes ribbons of bubbling dairy lava straight onto rye toast shards. You join the Cookshop because not everyone is adventurous enough to ignore import tariffs. And the cheese hits your palate like a friendly avalanche. Nutty, salty, slightly smoky, and loud about it. Somewhere a customs officer sneezes, sensing paperwork chaos in the wind. 5. Wallet check. Pause. Palpate pocket. Coins jingle, but thinner. Now a sad tambourine. Quick mental math. Still enough for dessert, questionable for bail. Good odds. 6. The donut duelists, two rival carts, face each other in a pastry stare-down. On the left, Crispin's rings of glorious dough knotted, fried, dipped in honey, dusted with rose sugar. On the right, Matilda's halo cake stencer batter, studded with currants, dunked in spiced wine syrup, then rolled in crushed almonds. A street juggler declares an impromptu taste-off. Spectators gamble, placing bets in coppers, buttons, and at least one questionable IOU scrawled on pigskin. You volunteer as judge number 3 because, frankly, your resume screams qualified. Extensive snacking experience, willingness to chew, Crispin's entry, airy, floral, almost floaty. Matilda's, chewy, boozy, almond brash. You lick syrup from your beard and deliberate dramatically. Finally, you rule a Thai crowd groans, vendors sigh, or walk away with a complimentary sample box from each camp, because diplomacy should taste good. 7. The after-hours bake-off underground. A local bakers guild operates a secret midnight oven rental in a disused crypt. Why? Daytime fuel taxes. Down a flight of mossy steps, you find a subterranean bakery lit by tallow candles and raw ambition. Artisans test recipes they'd never dare sell topside. Black pepper brownies, rye bread, rebaked with honey and obscene pepper doses. Plague-begone pretzels dough, infused with sage, garlic, and a prayer longer than the actual bake. Moon custard constellations, silver leaf-flecked, custard poured into star-shaped shortbread, served for astrologers who pay in horoscopes. You snag a brownie slice. It smacks like gingerbread got into a fistfight with a spice rack. Your sinuses salute. 8. Street-side alchemy. The hack back upstairs. Steam whooshes from a mobile cauldron pushed by 2 red-faced apprentices. Their master, old Mirwin the Broth Witch, sells hack shots, tiny horn cups of concentrated bone broth laced with nettle, garlic, and enough salt to anchor a boat. She claims it restores vigor and prevents hangovers. You shoot one. It tastes like beef stock filtered through summer hay and medieval optimism. Could be snake oil, could be miracle fuel. You feel marginally immortal, possibly placebo, but you ride the high. 9. Midnight fruit. But make it fashion near the town gates. Farmers who arrive late sell surplus fruit off wagons. One clever lad skewers pear slices, rolls them in barley malt, and smokes them over applewood chips. Instant caramelized pear lollipops, nature's candy wearing a smoky cloak. Kids swarm. Adults elbow kids aside. You manage to before supply evaporates. 10. Musicians demand payment in food. A trio of lutenists launches a power ballad about unrequited love between a turnip and a cooking pot. When the crowd's donations land short, they threaten an encore. Vendors collectively bribe them with cured sausages to stop. Crisis averted. Remember this. In a barter economy, salami can buy silence. 11. Fire-juggled flatbreads just before curfew. A fire performer named Dag, the dangerously doughy, twirls torches with one hand while slapping discs of dough against a heated shield with the other. 30 seconds, a sprinkle of herbs, and he flings a blistered flatbread into the air. You snatch it mid-arc because reflexes sharpen after 9,000 calories. The bread blisters your fingertips and your heart with equal enthusiasm. Worth blister count? High. Regret index near 0. 12. Municipal buzzkill town watch appears. Cowls up, announcing curfew. Stalls shudder, torches douse, but the faithful few adopt the ancient technique of pretending to clean while actually selling. You master it in seconds. Stand beside a crate, wipe it once, exchange pie for coin, under cover of tiding. Civil disobedience tastes like cinnamon tonight. 13. The Last Call Cabbage Mystery. As lanterns dim, one final vendor emerges. Brother Parsnip, a monk with dubious vows and canonical cabbage rolls. He stuffs pickled cabbage leaves with minced lamb, dried apricot, and breadcrumbs soaked in ale, and bakes them inside an earthen pot buried in coals. Timing is perfect. Rolls surface right when everyone's decision-making is fried. You split one with a stranger, who introduces himself only as Hugh, professional axe polisher. The roll is tangy sweet, steamy, and oddly uplifting. The culinary equivalent of a surprise hug from someone wearing chainmail. 14. Stomach roll. Call your internal council convenes. Pork slab, glowing fish, raclette ale, donuts, clandestine brownie bone broth, pear lollies, axe polisher, cabbage, quorum achieved. They vote unanimously for a horizontal meeting position soon. 15. Exit strategy you weave. Toward your rented loft, navigating puddles, stray cats, and the aromatic ghosts of everything you didn't eat. A baker tosses tomorrow's dough at a windowsill to rise over Night Street sourdough, born of yeast and risk. You pocket a fist-sized knob and promise to call it breakfast. The hangover pantry right outside your lodging. 2 widows have commandeered a laundry cauldron, rebranding it the glory pot. Into bubbling lard go onion rings thicker than a monk's thumb, breadcrumbs, and controversial choice strips of pickled turnip. They swear by the 3 G's of revival food: grease, gristle, and gratuitous salt. 1 bowl later, your skull rehydrates, your taste buds send for backup, and the widows slide you a vinegar chaser for balance. Scientists will debate balance. Your stomach signs acceptance and burps. 2. Coffee not coffee. Real coffee hasn't swaggered into Europe yet, but that won't stop the enterprising friar on the corner. He roasts chicory root and barley, grinds it with a mortar the size of a toddler, then brews a tardark potion he calls maca. Served steaming in recycled oyster shells, it tastes like burnt bread crust spiked with determination, but it does yank your eyelids upright. It's bonus. Tiny molasses wafer on the side, because placebo sugar counts. 3. The omelet gauntlet near the Guildhall. A husband and wife duo run an egg stand that doubles as couples therapy. He flips, she heckles. Their specialty: the knight's helm, omelet 3 eggs, chopped leeks, shredded salt pork, folded and seared until it resembles the visor of a helm. Wife yells. If he drops it, you get yours free. Crowd eggs him on, louder than a joust. He nails the landing. You pay full price, but the performance is the seasoning. 4. Pilgrim Fuel Station cathedral steps swarm with road-weary pilgrims craving absolution and carbs. Enter Sister Felicia's Scripples Flat, chewy oatcakes cooked on slate, studded with dried figs, then brushed with melted sheep's butter. She presses a tiny cross stamp into each one, turning breakfast into a souvenir plus edible indulgence loophole. You buy 2. Consider confession. Decide butter is repentance enough. 5. The bread bell stampede. Local law rings a bell when the first bakery batch emerges. 50 townsfolk materialize like yeast-powered ninjas elbowing for priority loaves. Baker Hugo flings out piping hot rounds of spelt bread. Catching one barehanded is a civic rite of passage. You snag a loaf midair, juggle it like a coal, then rip it open. Steam pours out, smelling of toasted hazelnut. Breakfast sandwich potential detected. 6. Build your own trencher bar. A new gimmick. The DIY Trencher Tavern. A half loaf. Slice a shallow crater. Cruise a condiment table lined with bowls. Minced salt beef. Soft cheese. Onion jam. Pickled eggs. Mustard that stings the soul. Assemble. Devour. Pretend archaeology later as you excavate crust layers soaked in everything. If this concept survives the century, it'll be called a buffet and charge twice as much. 7. Travel snack engineering workshop on the road today. Tinker sells journey jerkies. Thin lamb strips painted with honey, black pepper, and crushed juniper, then smoked over peat. They curl into tight spirals you unroll like scrolls while marching. He claims 1 strip equals 4 miles of vigor. You're skeptical. By 5. If nothing else, they double as makeshift shoelaces. 8. Dairy, daror, milk shots. Outside the city gate, a cow herd fills wooden thimbles with still warm milk foamed by the walk-in. Sprinkles each with cinnamon luxury flexand dares passers-by to down it in one gulp. Quick warmth for cold hearts. It's weirdly comforting, slightly barn-adjacent. And reminds you why humans domesticated cows in the first place. Portable cappuccino machines with horns. 9. Spices for the road. Stories for free. A caravan merchant unfurls a bolt of cloth displaying sachets of pepper, cumin, and a brand new marvel. Dried chili pods from far Iberian coasts. He roasts rumor-peppered tales while selling. Scholars claim these chiles will change cuisine forever. You purchase a single pod, vow to test it in soup, and immediately sneeze fire when you sniff it. Prophecy confirmed. 10 mid-morning musical snack interlude street minstrels, still fueled by last night's sausage bribe. It's perform ballad of the over-salted pottage. Their tip jar is a hollowed turnip. You toss in a coin. They reward you with a rhyming couplet and a bite of Autres and flapjack. They swear keeps strings from snapping. Hard to tell if that's music science or hunger marketing, but the flapjack hits like sweet granite good pocket armor. 11. Chapel courtyard caffeine hack. Another monk sensing chicory envious sets up tiny braziers to roast broad beans. Then mashes them with honey and water into a thick paste he spreads on barley cakes. Calls it bean energy. Tastes like sweet hummus meets breakfast brownie. You nod approvingly. He glows with validation. Maybe invents the power bar on the spot. 12. Personal hygiene, snack eye feed. Soap is luxury, but mint sprigs dipped in vinegar and chewed double as toothbrush and breath freshener. A herb girl hawks bundles yelling kiss insurance. You buy one, palate resets. Last night's garlic cowardly retreats. 13. The portable soup cube, an alchemist-leaning cook, has boiled bones, roots, and herbs down to a sticky reduction. Poured it into molds and dried it into broth bricks. Drop in hot water, get soup. Genius for travelers. Suspicious for modern historians who thought bouillon was 18th century. You pocket a cube. Hope TSA of the future appreciates pioneering spirit. 14. Debate at the Sausage Senate. Local butchers argue which casing sheep, hog or fish bladder makes the supreme breakfast link. You sample blindfolded. Turns out you can't tell, because seasoning trumps casing. Conclusion: breakfast sausage is egalitarian. Unite, not divide. They begrudgingly shake hands, then upsell you a mixed bag dozen. 15. Exit toll. The almond barrier ready to leave town. Gate guards partner with almond sellers. Law requires every outbound traveler to carry morale nuts. Official reason: prevent fainting on the King's Highway. Real reason: Almond Guild. Influence: you buy a tiny pouch, roasted with honey and lavender. Munch as you pass under the portcullis. Wonder why modern toll booths don't hand out snacks. Congratulations, wandering stomach. You've cleared the gate, secured your morale nut ration, and now stand at the lip of the King's Highway, a snaking ribbon of ruts. Puddles, toll shacks, and potential snack stalls. Destination: anywhere your coin purse survives. Mission: eat like you invented portable cuisine. Cue jaunty walking music, loot optional, whistling mandatory, and let's scout today's roadside buffet. 1. Sunrise, smoke, columns. Road map: you can smell cart tracks braid across farmland, but your nose? Does the real navigating? Plumes of breakfast smoke rise like punctuation marks. A thin gray swirl, peasant porridge. A dark bacon-heavy column, timus. And the distant blue haze that always means someone's burning something they swear is intentional flavoring. You stride toward bacon, obviously, too. The swineherd skillet stop under a bent oak. 3 swineherds have propped a shield over hot coals, turning it into a skillet the size of a political scandal. On it sizzles rashers. Surprise, surprise, being whatever fell off last night's hog. Seasoned with hedge, garlic, and enthusiasm, scooped up on bark spoons. It's the quintessence of roadsidery. You trade a couple of almonds on official highway currency for a scoop. Fat crackles, smoke kisses your cloak, and you decide breakfast tastes best when cooked on reclaimed weaponry. Bonus: swineherds include gossip for free. Apparently the next shire overtaxes pepper by sneeze count. You tuck that trivia away. 4. Pub banter. 3. Oatcake nights and portable armor. A Mylon. You meet a group of mercenaries, pan-toasting oatcakes on their shields. They cut them into crest shapes, slap on goose fat, and declare them edible armor plates. You test one, crisp edges, smoky center, enough carbs to fortify a castle wall. They insist each bite adds +1 courage. You're not sure about stats, but the crunch alone could inspire a sonnet. 4. The ale cart with built-in. Apology rolling toward you is Matilda's miracle ale cart, a barrel on wheels with a hand pump and a sign, drink now, regret later, regret potion half price. Her main tap dispenses weak ale with a sprig of rosemary refreshing. Borderline respectable, while a clay jug on the side promises hangover remedy vinegar, honey, sage, and matriarchal judgment. You take the ale, decline the remedy confidence? Folly. We'll know tomorrow. 5. Dragon eggs for the bold. Not far along. A wiry peddler crouches over a brazier, turning what look like blackened rocks. He cracks one open to reveal a quail egg hard-boiled in spiced clay. Inside, the yolk is green gold, perfumed with anise and salt. He calls them dragon eggs. You call them surprisingly tasty clay maracas. It's disappeared down the hatch, and you feel like you could wrestle a wyvern or at least loudly exaggerate about it in Tavern 6. The jerky duel Madrode, traveling monk and a tinker, engage in a heated marketing spat, whose jerky travels farther without tasting like saddle leather. You referee, monk's version, beef steeped in ale, heavy on parsley. Tinkers, mutton marinated in vinegar and smoke, then dusted with mustard seed. You chew, ponder textures, declare a diplomatic draw, and accept hush money jerky from both to keep it quiet. Arbitration tastes like Victory 7. Pop-up chapel pancakes at a wayside shrine. Nuns raise funds by frying Lent-compliant pancakes, water, chickpea flour, and enough caraway to redecorate your sinuses. Folded, drizzled with honey loophole. Pilgrim. Donations. These treats are thin, crispy, and Santa-approved. You buy one, leave a coin for the collection, and resist the urge to ask if they take pancake confessions. Forgive me, sister, for I have slurped syrup. 8. Noon bells and the cabbage cauldron as church bells toll midday. A roadside hamlet unveils its communal cauldron. Shredded cabbage, barley, and random meat nubs stewing since dawn. The village elder ladles it into hollow turnips, Mother Nature's travel mug. They call it green fortune gruel. You call it warm hope. It's earthy, filling, and suspiciously energizing probably. The handful of horseradish some prankster tossed in. 9. The mystery of dragon's breath. Steward reaches your ear via donkey courier. Long story, the fox and flagon. In 2 leagues ahead is serving its infamous dragon's breath stew tonight, an annual event rumored to cauterize taste buds and sins alike. Pilgrims either rave or whimper. Naturally, you quicken pace. 10. Snack detour. Hedge wizards, herb bread and root. A self-styled hedge wizard hawks hearthstone, flatbreads infused with rosemary, lavender, and a spell for pleasant dreams. You test one. Flavor says culinary student, not sorcerer, but the warm herbs perfume your pack. You purchase a spare dream. Insurance is cheaper than therapy. 11. Corner-side cobbler's fruit. Not shoes at a crossroads. 2 traveling sisters sell pot pies filled with stewed plums, apples, and whatever berry they scouted that morning. They bake inside tiny earthen pots, seal with dough lids, brand each with a smiling sun emblem. Crack one open. Fruit magma floods your spoon, cinnamon steam fogs your lashes. You consider marriage proposals. They laugh, sell you a second cobbler, and wish you luck outrunning the sugar crash. 12. The sizzling stone. Trick A. Smith's apprentice demonstrates the sizzling stone method. Heat a hand-sized rock in coals. Drop it into a horn mug of broth. Watch it boil on the spot. Instant soup. He sells starter kits. Stone, horn, seasoning pouch. You buy because outdoor science. First trial scalds your fingertips, but makes remarkably peppy leek broth. Outside temperature. Who cares your mug bubbles like volcanic tea? 13. Twilight. Arrival. The fox, in flagon golden hour, paints the inn's wattle walls honey orange. Smoke curls from its chimney-like calligraphy spelling. Abandoned sobriety, all the who enter. Courtyard thrums with carts, packs, and travelers circling like hungry sparrows. In yard fast food court inside this rustic foodie arena, for booths vie for coins before diners even cross the door. The pie siege engine, a rotating spit roasts. Hand pies in iron cages, so each pastry bastes in its own drippings. Pie inception. The pickle bard sings limericks while spearing pickled vegetables onto skewers. Promise. Laugh and you get free extra gherkin. Cheese cannon slinging molten cheese onto bread shuttles with a wooden. Catapult, or sleeve armor. Honey roasted hazelnut gambler. Guess the spice mix correctly. Double your portion. Wrong? Pay double. Spoiler, always wrong. You sample everything research. Pie crust flakes like gossip. Pickles cut the grease with acidic poetry. Cheese slingshot nearly brands your chin. Hazelnut gamble costs you but introduces clove coriander euphoria. Appetite now shining like a knight's helm. .14. The main event. Ordering dragon's breath stew inside. Candlelight flickers, patrons. Sweat and a chalkboard warns. Dragon's breath stew. No refunds, no regrets, no liability for spontaneous dance. The proprietor, Mistress Rowan, explains the ritual. Sign the ledger waiver, disguised as guest book. Choose heat tear, whelp, drake, elder, or why gods. Why? Receive a bread trencher seatbelt, a ring of crust you bite between spoonfuls. To extinguish flames, you, naturally, pick drake heroic, yet survivable. The stew arrives, earthen bowl, lid sealed with dough strip. Holes puffing cinnamon, may steam. Rowan breaks the crust tableside. Crimson liquid glows like forged metal. Chunks of beef, carrot, and suspicious red pods, those Childs prophetized earlier. First spoonful, sweet, then smoky, then a heat wave that migrates from lips to earlobes to existential plane. Eyes water like a saint's statue on Miracle Sunday. Bread seatbelt, chewed in panic. Patrons cheer your crimson-cheeked valor. You survive. Taste buds reboot, euphoria floods. You contemplate writing political treaties powered solely by capsaicin 15. Post-stew recovery and dessert diplomacy. Rowan soothes survivors with her frost maidens. Shaved ice stirred with honey, mint, and goat milk cream. The cold douses internal fires, numbs whatever pride the stew singed. You inhale too. Brain freeze greater than tongue burn. Balance restored 16. Nightcap negotiations. Tavern common room buzzes with post-stew bravado. Traders barter recipes. Mercenaries trade scar stories. Minstrels audition new verses about dragon-kissed travelers. You trade leftover hazelnuts for a half-tankard of blackberry mead. Flavor. Jam in stereo. You toast to highway gastronomy. And vow to document everything, lest future generations mistake medieval diets for dull gruel. 17. The midnight pie, window long, after curfew, a side shutter reopens. Insomniac baker sells secret pies to night owls. Venison and juniper. Pear and blue cheese, or mystery mushrooms sourced from the moonlit grove. You pick mushroom YOLO, earthy, creamy, with an afternote of maybe hallucination. Stars seem brighter. Bed seems optional. 18. Final belly roll call today's intake log, oak shield rashers. Edible armor oat cakes, rosemary ale, clay dragon eggs, double jerky nun pancakes, barley cabbage gruel, herb bread, fruit cobbler, sizzling stone soup. Q. Of courtyard snacks, fire stew, frost dessert, lunar mushroom pie. Stomach hums a Gregorian chant of triumph. 19. Collapse and digestive epilogue up creaky stairs, into hay-stuffed mattress. Window cracked. Night breeze smells of cinnamon smoke and distant bacon. You drift off picturing tomorrow's stretch of road. Rumored cider orchards, and perhaps a traveling dumpling wagon run by ex-acrobat twins. Adventure. Guaranteed. Longevity. Negotiable. Up. You get culinary conquistador. Dragon's breath memories smolder pleasantly behind your ribs. But the road doesn't wait, and neither do breakfast rumors. An orchard frying apples in bacon fat. Twin acrobats flinging dumplings like juggling balls, and some mad hermit claiming a stone can croon tavern tunes if you cook sausages on it. Boots on, purse cinched. Let the day's snack quest commence. 1. Farewell to the fox and flagon mistress. Rowan sends you off with a traveler's hug, code for a linen pouch stuffed with last night's crust ends. Stiff as pebbles and a jaundiced lemon to ward off road vapors. You accept, promise to write, and step into a sunrise the color of melted butter. Your first job, follow your nose toward applewood smoke curling beyond the HEDGEROW.2. Orchard fry papples, gone rogue half, a league downhill sprawls, merry down orchard, its lanes littered with windfall fruit and overworked bees. In the center, 3 farmhands huddle round an iron rim set atop wagon wheels, their DIY griddle. Quarter tart greenings, toss them with bacon trimmings, sage, and a drizzle of last season's cider. Sizzle's symphony ensues. You volunteer to flip slices with a wooden spatula, older than some monarchs. The apples blister, bacon curls, sage crackles like gossip around a spinning wheel. One farmhand spoons the mix onto barley flatbread, folds it, taco style, and baptizes it with smoked salt. First bite, sweet savory thunderbolt, drippy enough to waterproof your chin. Breakfast rating, 11 pilgrim badges out of possible 9.3. Granny Palm cider dough, nuggets deeper in the grove. Granny Palm operates a cauldron of cinnamon-speckled batter beside a barrel of bubbling cider syrup. She ladles dough blobs the size of walnut shells into fat, pulls them golden, and roll coats them in sugary cider sludge. Little bursts. Oh, orchard joy, she cackles. Truth, they're medieval timbits, but boozier. But you bag a dozen. Self-promise to ration them. You will, of course, fail for. The hedge maze shortcut and surprise cheese ambush to reach the main highway again. You brave and neglected hedge maze. Inside lurks brother Elric, the wandering fromager, monkhood dubious, cheese undeniable. He's cold smoking miniature goat cheese drums over rosemary twigs. You trade 2 cider nuggets for 1 drum. Bite in and discover tangy cream wrapped in herb-perfumed rind. Maze guardian appeased, he parts the hedge with a staff carved like a bread knife. You exit smelling like a salad left on a campfire in a good way closing parenthesis. 5. Noon roadside circus center, the dumpling twins' drums thrum in the distance, dust plumes rise. You crest a hill to the traveling circus Le Cirque du Calzone. Run by twins Laura and Ludo, half contortionists, half dumpling savants. Their calling card, Sky Piercer Pockets. Ludo spins sheets of spiced wheat dough overhead like weaponized pizza. Laura catapults ladles of minced pork. Leek and ginger filling into mid-air. At apex, Ludo slaps a dough disc around each filling. Blob pinches shut with one deft twirl, then flings the sealed dumpling onto a sizzling bronze shield laying over coals. Crowd gasps. You drool, and both twins grin like ferrets in a granary. 5 minutes later, they spear the bronzed pockets on. Willow sticks, glaze them in soy honey elixirs scavenged from Eastern traders, and hand them out. Texture, crisp, blistered bottom, fluffy top, molten innards. You learn to nibble steam holes first to avoid tongue meltdown. Rookie behind you doesn't. Earns applause and a free snow turnip for burn therapy. You purchase 6, swear to share. Later, promptly devour 4 and stash 2 in your hood. Sticky hair is a small price for dumpling insurance. 6. Lunch break knife juggler kebabs beside the main tent. A knife juggler finances new blades by grilling mutton cubes on dagger points. Between sets. Seasoning is simple. Knife oil and stage sweat. You shrugged by one. Mutton is shockingly succulent, hinting at rosemary wiped from earlier performance props. Protein plus daredevil microbes equals balanced diet. 7. The singing sausage stone quest. Begins a minstrel overhears your snack trail and reveals a riddle. Seek the standing stone that hums when fat drips upon it. Cook there, and it sings your supper true. Translation. Somewhere ahead is a rock that vibrates when used as a griddle, granting sausages the voice of angels with indigestion. Coordinates? Coordinates. He gestures vaguely towards Stonebrook Vale, 2. Leagues east. You consult purse, belly, moral compass broken, and pivot eastward, 8. Interlude. Bogsnack. Gambitha. Shortcut veers through a squelchy bog dotted with carnivorous-looking shrubs. Luckily, a peddler named Maul plants a plank path and sells swamp chips, thin slices of cattail root fried in goose fat and dusted with ground fenugreek. Crunch factor high, swamp stench low, energy spike medium. You survive bog mosquitoes by waving the chips like incendiary fans. Side benefit. They keep Ludo's dumpling glaze off your eyebrows, 9. Mid-afternoon. Cider slump and miracle bean brew fatigue. Ambushes. Salvation appears in a hut run by 3 Breton nuns testing stimulating beverages. Their prototype, roasted fava beans steeped with chicory, cardamom, and wild honey. First sip lifts eyelids, second warms toes, third renews faith. In road choices, they call it Benedictine. You buy a gourd flask, nearly propose. They decline politely, toss in a honey wafer for piety. 10 Stonebrook Vale, and the humming monolith you arrive by dusk. Meadow Brook, massive upright stones streaked with soot and ancient runes. Nearby stands Quint the Pan Hermit, his beard plaited like garlic ropes. He tests skillet placements atop the stone, listening for tonal resonance. You explain sausage plan? He nods sagely, reveals pork links marinated in beer, sage, and minced apples bless orchard detours. Setup. Stone's top heats via internal. Iron deposits warmed by sun alchemy meets geology. Fat drips into rune grooves. Stone emits deep hum like choir monks glinging. As Lynx Brown, pitch rhizeza, meaty xylophone, villagers emerge drawn by dinner music. You and Quint serve slices on rye shards. Flavor smoky sweet with a hint of mineral magic. Acoustics amplify appetite. Crowd tips with coins, cider jugs, and one perplexed chicken. 11. Feast fallout and dessert pebble candy. A local miller's wife gifts you river pearls, pebbles coated in boiled sugar and mint, sucked for fresh breath and mild jaw exercise. They crunch gently, pair well with lingering sage notes. Night settles. Villagers host impromptu dance. Fiddles, saw, sausages encore. You trade dance steps for apple mead refills until stars blur. 1-2. Sleeping. Arrangements. Hayloft gourmet collapse in Quint's hayloft. He insists on a bedtime snack. Toasted oats mixed with grated dried pear and a drizzle of sheep milk caramel. You spoon it greedily, label it oat creme broly of the gods, and dream of dumplings orbiting a singing stone planet. Wakey roving taste tester. Dawn in Stonebrook Vale, tastes of wood smoke and leftover sage. Quint the Pan Hermit has already laid out breakfast gear on the singing stone, insisting a good day starts with a batter that knows its nuts. Today's agenda: walnut toil waffles, a detour through the infamous salt pits of Grey Crag, and a mountaintop rendezvous with a troubadour who claims to churn basil snow ice cream while composing power ballads. Yes, you're about to eat dessert. At 7,000 feet, stretch those chewing muscles we ride. 1. Walnut toil. Waffles of Don Quint's batter is simple alchemy, stone ground spelt. Goat milk, honey, and enough crushed walnuts to bribe a squirrel army. Instead of an iron press, he brandishes a pair of wooden grids bound with iron bands, portable waffle irons he forged himself. Onto the heated monolith they go with a hiss and a thunderclap of nutty perfume. You wield the flip pike, a sharpened spatula, the length of your shin, pry loose a waffle panel. and discover a lattice so crisp it could double as stained glass if honey didn't drip through every gap. Quint slathers each quadrant with orchard apple butter rescued from yesterday's fry-up and dusts the lot with cinnamon. Bite 1. Edges shatter, center melts, walnut oil perfumes, sinuses, and breakfast instantly outranks 3 previous. Religions on your personal enlightenment chart. 2. The Great Chicken Heist. Heistalls you pack a saddlebag with surplus waffles. To hen's escapees from the village pens stage a daring raid. One distracts by flapping at your hood. The other snatches a waffle corner in its beak and sprints. Quint hollers medieval curses may your feathers molt unevenly. You give chase through deuce-lick grass, trading dignity for pastry. Eventually the hen drops her prize in favor of a worm. Apparently waffles are third priority after protein and anarchy. You reclaim the slightly dented square, brush off feathers, call it added texture, and declare victory. 3. Provisions and parting. Gift Squint sends you off with a bundle of herbed sausage crumbs pressed into oatcake's travel energy. A flask of monolith tea steeped with charred rosemary smoky rehydration. And one last piece of advice. If a salt miner offers you anything labeled white lightning, ask how many teeth it dissolved last batch. Sage words filed next to always vent dumplings before biting. For Goat Trail's smoothiest path east climbs, a goat trail freckled with time. Halfway up, a goat herd named Petra runs a miniature snack stand. Clay jugs of frothy kefir blitzed, with crushed mint and wild honey shaken, not stirred, by galloping goat hooves tied to the jug lids. She calls it Caprine smoothie. You call it caffeinated yogurt on a pogo stick. It's tart, chilled, and leaves a mustache more luxurious than any knight's visor plume. Salute. Petra's herd, trade a waffle shard, and trek on with gut microbes. Singing madrigals. 5. First glimpse of Grackrog's Scresta Ridge, and there it is, the Grackrog Salt Valley. Imagine a moonscape cratered with brine pools, steam drifting like spectral laundry, and wooden windlasses creaking as miners haul sloshing buckets. Air tastes like you licked a salted herring, bracing, dehydrating, oddly exhilarating. Somewhere, down there, the legendary salt pit lolly stand, EURIKA.6, descent, and dehydration economic switchbacks lead down past warning signs, beware hidden brine pockets, no splashing monk robes, and the ever-charming drink water or die. Loudly, at the base, a kiosk shaped like a giant salt crystal gleams. Proprietor, Salvius, a wiry fellow whose hair seems carved from halite. He dips reed skewers into simmering brine, sweetened with boiled-down beet syrup, then thrusts them into cold wind to crystallize. In under a minute, the sticks sport jagged, clear candy salt pit lollies, equal parts sweet, saline, and shatter sharp. First lick, your tongue throws a parade in your electrolytes sign non-aggression packs. Second lick, you understand how mermaids stay hydrated. You buy 2 dozen. Oivis slips in a loyalty shard, collect 10. Get a free mouth ulcer treatment, closing parenthesis. 7. The miners salt fudge smackdown Great Crag's off-shift miners. Hold daily contests for the ultimate salted sweet. Today's category, fudge. Teams brandish kettles. Ingredients fly. Goat butter, honey, crushed cacao nibs from distant trade routes. And of course, specialty salt spink flecks from deep chimneys, smoky gray shards from flame-evaporated pans. Even green-tinged crystals, allegedly blessed by a swamp witch. You're recruited as judge-a. Perilous honor considering contestants swing pickaxes for a living. Sample 1, velvety caramel, whisper of smoke. Sample 2, darker, nutty meal kick of salt at finish. Sample 3, studied with pistachios, finishes like burnt sugar thunder. You declare a 3-way tie to avoid cliff accidents? Miners shrugged, divvy leftover fudge into paper twists, and jam them into your pockets as thanks. You stagger away 12 fudge bricks, heavier yet 30% happier. 8. Secret salt cave. Sapusa young miner named Leafwinks beckons you into a side tunnel lit by phosphorescent fungi. Inside, a cavern dripping brine droplets that crystallize, mid-fall into tiny pyramids. Local youths pass flatbreads through the stalactite rain, catching crystals in hot, instant salted flatbread chips. They garnish with pickled spruce tips. You crunch a piece. Flavors clash, then waltz. Piney acid, warm butter, primal salt, new craving unlocked. 9. Brine bath lemonade stand exiting the valley. Dehydration taps your shoulder. Fortunately, to farm. Girls operate a lemonade booth water, lemon, honey shaken with a teaspoon of Grey Crag's finest microflake salt. The brew slaps fatigue like a court jester slapped by the queen. You drain a mug, feel internal gears hum. Purchase a refill. For the road, then a third for the existential dread. Hydration flex accomplished. 10. Ascent toward snowline trail tilts upward. Pine needles crunch, air thins. In awe and salt fudge to motivate hamstrings. Round you, pine sap boils in midday sun, releasing a scent like spiced honey pepper. Occasional marmots whistle. You suspect they're gossiping about your waffle sticky hood. 11. Avalanche Tavern, the mid-slope pit stop halfway to the pass. A log cabin leans against a cliff. Sign reading Avalanche Tavern we serve before the snow does. Inside roaring. Hearth benches carved from half logs, and a soup cauldron so big it qualifies as indoor pool. Soup, venison, juniper, barley, wild mushrooms. Free refills if you can pronounce Newman ultramicroscopics. You mispronounce spectacularly. Barkeep refills anyway, impressed by your linguistic audacity. 2 bowls later, you tip with salt lollies, instant bar currency, fancy sugar stalactites. 12. Ridge of the basil bard late afternoon, gusts. Carry faint lute chords and the herbal scent of crushed basil. Cresting the ridge, you find a caravan painted emerald and gold, wheels half buried in snow. On its roof stands Aurelian, the basil bard, hair a swirl of silver, strumming a long-necked lute while simultaneously churning a bronze ice cream pot packed in snow. Sign reads, Basil Blizzard Ballads, 1 scoop per song. 12A the churn. Processed goat milk custard blended with honey and egg yolk, handfuls of fresh basil. Leaves bruised into the mix for peppery zing. Pot nested in mountain snow. Churned in rhythm to his chord progressions, moderato for mixing, allegro for aerating, adagio for flavor contemplation. Glorious multitas. Carter, payment. Musical participation, purchasers must contribute a couplet, refrain, or enthusiastic percussion. Cue includes 3 pilgrims banging walking staves, a merchant reciting limericks about lumpy cheese, 2 toddlers, squeaking wooden goat toys in questionable rhythm. You clear your throat and improvise. From walnut dawn to salt pit noon, my belly yodels hungry tune. The crowd cheers Aurelian's approval, scoop secured. 13. Tasting the basil blizzard, pale green, flecked darker with herb, texture like snow-kissed silk. First spoonful cools palate to summer rain, honey whispers, sunny sweetness, basil flares. Like mint's sophisticated cousin, you exhale a little cloud, yes. The ice cream is so cold, you're fog breathing. Worth losing enamel sensitivity. 14. The melt madness scramble sun dips, but still warm enough to stage a scoop slide catastrophe. A toddler fumbles their cup. Basil green ball rolls downhill, pursued by 3 shrieking children, 1 dog, and unexpectedly. Marmot. You join chase at heroic sprint, intercept the rogue scoop with your wooden trencher, and deliver it back atop a fresh snowball garnish. Aurelian Nights, you Sir Scoop Savalot, rewards heroism with a bonus drizzle of black currant. Syrup. Sir Titles taste delicious. 15. Souvenir snow sandwiches for travelers lacking bowls. The Bard molds ice cream between thin birch bark wafers. Prototype ice cream sandwiches. You buy 4, wrap them in cold moss for insulation, and hope the laws of thermodynamics nap tonight. 16. Evening camp tarp. Pitch tea and waffle crumzu. The small fellowship of desert drunk pilgrims make camp in a fir grove. Dinner. Leftover walnut waffle fragments topped with venison soup skim culinary daring, plus spoonfuls of basil ice cream for hot-cold chaos. Beverage. Tarpich tea brewed from spruce resin, unexpectedly vanilla-adjacent. Palate confusion reaches. Operatic heights 17. Campfire ballads Swaparelian trades stories for marshmallow prototype. Honey puffs bee-waxed, honey whipped with egg white, torched at fire tip. You recount the singing stone sausages. The circle gasps. A crusader recounts cinnamon chicken on a holy spit. A monk describes barley beer thick enough to eat with a fork. Everyone pledges to open a pan-European snack guild once wars and plagues take a holiday. 18. Midnight salty sweet revelations. Before turning in, you risk one more salt fudge, brick chased by a final lick of basil ice. Brain fireworks, salt spikes basil herb cools fudge, sugar tames salt. Triangle of flavor harmony achieved. You scribble. Notes on birch bark. Salt plus herb ice equals future empire. Sleep sneaks in like pickpocket cat. You're out before finishing the words crystallizatio. In 19, dream sequence, Cliff Notes. Dream you're jousting atop a waffle steed. Shield a salt pit lolly, lance a 6-foot basil ice cream cone that sings. Your victory in Aurelian's voice. You awake giggling, face sticky with melted sandwich residue. Worth it morning, culinary crusader. Last night's sugar salt symphony still echoes in your teeth. But the mountain trail rolls on. Rumor says a hidden gorge steams with rye noodles as long as pilgrim processions. Valley of molten cheese boulders lies beyond. And tonight the lowland town of Hopswell hosts its one-seer ginger beer geyser fair. Pace your jaw. Pack your parchment a day's menu will test hinge durability. 1. Furt flapjacks and the marmot Tollier snow camp. Breaks aroma first. Aurelian stirs flapjack. Batter scented with young fir tips and lemon zest imported contraband from a crusader's saddlebag. He flicks discs onto a greased buckler set over coals. The edges charred just enough to whisper campfire creme broly. Price of breakfast. 1 verse 4 is next ballad. You improvise. Oh flapjack, bright and frosty morn, may syrup fall, and mussels born. Aurelian raises an eyebrow, but forks you to cakes slathered in spruce honey butter. Perfect fuel, till 3 marmots appear, demanding crumb tribute. You toss them a corner. They squeak blessings and waddle off plotting. Pancake empires. 2. The hidden gorge of endless noodles trail bends to a ravine where hot springs vent through shale. Steam mists the air. And dangling over bubbling pools are bamboo racks draped with ropes of snowline rye. Noodles hand-pulled by a hermit order called the Brothers of the Slurp. Legend. They knead dough with melted snow. Roll it between yak. Horns. Then flash cooks strands in sulfur spring water for subtle, eggy funk. Brother Pavo greets you, eyes watering from steam and piety. He seats guests on stone stools, hands each a branch chopstick, then lowers a basket of just-cooked noodles into the creek's runoff to chill. Seconds later, he flicks them into bowls, ladles on sesame pea nut sauce, and dusts with powdered wild garlic blossom. First mouthful, chewy, nutty, warm-cool paradox, background note of egg-scented volcano. Slurp etiquette. Louder equals gratitude. You summon thunder. Monk's beam. Pavo gifts you a travel skein of dried noodle rope doubles as tow rope in emergencies closing. Parenthesis. 3. Side quest. Why spring egg roulette while noodles digest? Brother Domihawk's soft-boiled eggs steeped directly in mineral vents. Shells marbled smoky gray. Contents quiver like custard. Trick. 1 in 6 contains a hidden caraway seed. The fortune egg. Crack. Procure yolk is seed-free. Domi shrugs. Scribbles a blessing anyway. Safe journeys. Minimal blisters you accept. Your heels feel holier already. 4. Descent to the valley of cheese boulders. Afternoon sun melts mountain. Ice into silver rivulets guiding you down. To La Valley Formaggi, a high-pasture bowl where cowherds dammed a stream to power the world's laziest fondue. Blocks of alpine cheese are stacked into cairns over stone fire pits, forming head-high boulders that ooze rivers of molten gold into carved wooden troughs. Station 1, crust canoes, stale bread halves hollowed into boats, ladle in molten, cheese, plus a splash of plum wine for temps. The crust absorbs lava, turns soft as a lullaby, yet miraculously doesn't leak. You paddle 2 into your mouth, nearly weep. Station 2. Potato catapults teenagers fling boiled spuds across the pit. Diners spear, midair, dunk in flowing fondue. You skewer one, catch 3 more in hood laundry later. Carbo Dash Heaven, Station 3. Rock slide special attendant tips an entire boulder. Fondue cascades down plank chute onto a heap of pickled onions, cured boar, and toasted rye cubes. Crowd cheers like crusaders returned. You hold trencher under spout, capture runaway drizzle, and vow to exercise sometime in the next decade. 5. Cheese coma countermeasure stew. Much dairy threatens nap attack. Shepherd remedies with mountain thyme tonics, sparkling spring water infused. Overnight with thyme, juniper, and a single hot pepper seed. Sip sears throat, wakes brain, persuades stomach to keep marching. You bottle a flask for emergencies. 6. Ravine rope bridge and noodle rescue path to Hopswell crosses. Rope bridge swaying above 300-foot chasm. Halfway gust tears a pouch of dried noodle rope from your pack. Strands uncoil like heroic spaghetti overhead. Reflex dive. You snag rope, retie, and inadvertently invent bungee pasta. Brother Pavo would approve. 7. Twilight approach to Hopswell. Hopswell sits where pine forest yields to barley fields. Every chimney puffing malt-scented smoke. Tonight, the square glows orange. Banners declare annual ginger beer geyser fair fizz till dawn. You quick step. Saliva pre-carbon. ATING. 8. Fairground layout. Foam. Fire and Folly Central Fountain. A copper cauldron of spicy ginger wort rigged with bellows pumps. At hourly chime, apprentice yanks cork. CO whooshies. Beer geyser. Rockets. Skyward, crowd toasts raining foam. Bread bowl brigade, bakers scoop foam into rye crust bowls. Drizzle with molasses, ginger beer, cappuccino. Spice Market Alley, stalls, pedal candied, ginger shards. Mice sprinkled pretzels, cloven pepper, jerky. Stunt stage, brewers juggle tankards, breathe fire using high-proof ginger schnapps. Eyebrows optional. Yeast Beast Racecourse. Children chase inflated goat bladders, painted as ferment monsters. Winner earns free soda bread. You pay entrance in salt pit lollies, currency accepted everywhere. Now. 9. First geyser shower clock strikes. Cork pops. Column of amber froth erupts 20 feet, catching torchlight like molten topaz. Crowd cheers, hats vanish in spray. You raise bread bowl, capture foam crown. Sip. Sweet, fiery, effervescent. Tickles ears from inside. Beard becomes ginger cloud. You decide it's fashion point 10. Ginger glazed turkey legs Rassmaster bastes, turkey legs with sticky ginger beer reduction. Crusts them over oak coals. Exterior lacquer crunches, interior juices waterfall. You gnaw like polite barbarian, alternating bites with gulps of cold beer ladled from oak barrels, chilled in village well. Hydration meets hazard. 11. Midnight dumpling drop revival distant. Shout. Laura and Ludo's caravan just rolled in dumpling acrobatics encore. Except now they spike fillings with candied ginger and minced smoked boar. Twirl. Sear dumplings. Rain like meteors of joy. You catch one in bread bowl. Discover beer foam plus dumpling equals cloud pillow comfort. 12. Ginger beer cheese fondue. Remix Valley chismongers have set up satellite pot. They swirl yesterday's molten leftovers with fresh ginger beer, creating bubbly temps fondue. Dip mace pretzel, mind blown, spicy sweet cheese fizz, chewy bread snap, palette fireworks. 13. East Beast finals and sticky toffee bribery kids finale. Bladder beasts race. Your earlier pancake marmot acquaintances now disguised as official judges. Winner boy offers you treasury of sticky toffee squares studded with crystallized ginger as mentor. You have no idea what you mentored but accept .14 ginger snap. Eating gauntlet contest. Devour a stack of wafer-thin snaps without drinking. You volunteer. Snaps laced with black pepper and orange peel. Moisture vanishes.
I'll beg cheese.
Tongue begs for treaty. You hold out 9 rounds, tie for victory. Win a miniature copper cork souvenir of Geyser Fountain. 15. Last cork pop. Dragon's Throat mode final geyser. Brewers add extra molasses and double ginger. Jet erupts higher than bell tower. Foam sheet drenches square. Some swear steam hisses. You taste droplets midair. Caramel firestorm. Crowd sings slurred sea shanty about foam angels tap dancing. 16. Post-fair snack. Bazaars lanterns dim. Vendors discount leftovers. Foam-soaked dough balls, yesterday's bread fried. Soaked in beer, rolled in cinnamon. Hop crust pies, savory beef pies. Crust infused with spent hops. Gingered apple skewers. Apple wedges smoked over beer. Soaked over beer soaked. Oak, you sample all. Pocket 2 pies for dawn. Exchange recipe tips with baker who insists on adding coriander to crust for mystical lift. 17. Lodging at the frothy Badger last bed in town. Hay mattress above brewhouse. Room comes with complimentary yeast vapor inhalation. Is air warm, faintly bready. You consider it spa treatment? Nightcap. Mug of ginger beer custard, leftover wort thickened with eggs. You sip sigh and prop feet on windowsill watching. Final glow of fairground torches. Stomach hums. Gregorian burp. 18. Digestive dream sequencer. Dream inside a giant ginger snap roller coaster. Carts shaped like cheese boulders ride noodles as track. Geyser fountain propels you into waffle cloud. You awaken, pillow crumb decorated, wiser, hungrier, up indefatigable, mandible. You survive the ginger beer geyser fair and woke only slightly pickled. 2 hop crust pies wait on the nightstand, exuding beefy encouragement. Eat one cold peppery, malty, determined to replace coffee. Pocket the other for later, huh? Strap on boots fragrant with melted basil ice cream, sling your satchel, and follow the river breeze south. Today's itinerary? A noodle soup barge that floats while you slurp. A crayfish smoke-off that settles old fishing feuds, and a confectionery. Cold war between rival monasteries forging edible armor. Chew forth. 1. Breakfast by the wharf. Alotes and pipe organ. Porridge hops. Wharf bustles with barges. Quappridge clatter. And bakers toasting oat porridge in ale-soaked cauldrons. For hangover fortification, they pipe the mush through church organ. Reeds puffing hot oat ropes onto trenchers. Texture, porridge outside, souffle inside, melody of malt. You inhale 2 meters worth, leaving a breadcrumb trail like optimistic Hansel. Stomach applauds in Gregorian chant. 2. Boarding the noodle ark moored. Downstream looms a flat-bottomed riverboat draped in silk banners embroidered with broth bowls. Painted name SS Simmer Down. Proprietor Captain Miss Retired Corsair turned soup evangelist welcomes travelers with ladle salutes. Deck layout. Stern, cedar-fired boil cauldron, mishapiz, chopping stations. Manned by experts who dice faster than they once plundered. Bow, slurp rail. Banister you lean on while river current sloshes broth like motherly rocking. Ticket. Price, 1 hop I knew it, plus a ginger snap for the parrot navigator. Transaction concluded, you step aboard. The parrot squawks al dente or death. 2. A broth baptism ceremonial. Newcomers toast the river gods by splashing a spoon of broth overboard instant catfish marinade. Captain Miso ladles your bowl. Lamb bones simmered overnight with barley, river mint, and something he calls smuggled umami. Into this, he drops coils of hand-cut wheat noodles. Pink slivers of smoked eel. And fistfuls of pickled radish petals. First slurp, broth nuzzles palate like velvet hammer. Noodle chew, elasticity of lute strings, eel whispers, smoke, river glides. Boat rocks. Bowl becomes infinity pool for tongue. 2. B-decks. Dumpling frisbid. Voyage, the crew hosts dumpling frisbee glutinous. Discs, stuffed with mustard greens and pork, steamed then seared. Rules, fling disc, catch in bowl, earn extra broth. Your first catch splashes beard but lands. Bonus ladle awarded. Parrot judges distance accuracy, squawks legal noodle, compliment, apparently. 3. Bankside crayfish, conquest, Triver Bends. Past Reed Islands, where 2 fishing hamlets, Closford and Pincerwick stage, annual crayfish. Smoke off on dueling rafts tethered midstream. They flag down the noodle ark, inviting passengers to judge. Captain obliges. Soup break becomes seafood summit. 3. A Closford's honey hazelwood method crayfish, brined in cider, glazed with mountain honey, smoked over hazelwood chips, then dusted. In coriander ash, tasting notes, shell crunches candy brittle, flesh buttery sweet, after waft of toasted nut. 3B Pincer Wicks pepper pine inferno crayfish marinated in river pepper sauce, smoked over green pine, finished with chili flakes. Shell charred, meat zings lips, tingle to verses of psalm. You gnaw alternating tails until taste buds call truce. Declare a draw. Villagers grumble but share ale jugs and extra tails for deliberation. Peace is delicious. 4. Floating snack. Interlude, barley beer shaved ice back aboard. Galley apprentice shaves ice blocks stowed in bilge, douses shards in reduced barley beer. Sprinkles with fried oat grits no cone for grown-ups. Brain freeze versus broth heat. Create internal weather front. You belch THUNDERCLOUD.5. Landing at Marzipan Meadows Abbey and its sugared rival disembark. At Twin Hill Monasteries locked in a Joel dispute, Abbey of the Immaculate Amanea white-clad. Monks claim to have invented marzipan breastplates during Last Crusade supply crisis. Convent of the Sacred, Pistachio CSP green-robed sisters insist they. First tempered nut paste into helmet domes for pilgrimage protection. Every midsummer, they reenact the marzipan arms race, crafting full suits of edible armor and dueling via pastry flail until one team's cuirass shatters. 5.A. Aya Workshop Taraman Smiths at work inside sweet-scented cloister. Monks pound almond, rosewater, and sugar in bronze mortar. Novice Brother Fondant molds pectoral plates, embosses saintly sigils and flourishes of clove dust. Taste sample. Delicate, airy. Danger 2 Diabetics.5.BCSP Arsenal Pistachio Plate Pre-Sisters. Rolled jade paste between parchment, layer with. Honey glued wafers for rigidity. Rivet pieces using cardamom hard caramel pins. Sister McCarran offers gauntlet nibble, earthy nutty, hints of citrus peel. Surprisingly meaty Chew.5.C. The pastry Duella Village green lines with cheering spectators waving licorice pennants. Rules. 3 bout shield bash, may strike, and helmet tap. Weapons carved from nougat mounted on cinnamon stick handles. Round eye, monk's charge. Sisters parry with pistachio shields. Almond shoulder plate cracks, gasps. Round 2. Sisters counter. Pistachio mace smashes monk bracers. Sugar dust snowfall. Round 3. Brother Fondant executes spinning marzipan sweep. Topples sister champion. Her helmet splits, releasing lavender sugar. Confetti. Victory. Aya by a hairline fracture. Rivalry resets for next year. Leftover shards distributed as communal snack you pocket fragments. Debating dental coverage. 6. Interim snack, nougat nacho, surprise street, vendors capitalize, melt. Shards onto rye crisps, drizzle with peppered honey, brand as holy nachos. Crunch factor sacrilegious, sweetness leveled by rye tang. You buy plates, trade some for pistachio crumb truffle shrapnel. 7. Evening pilgrimage to River Shrine and Ramen Encore pilgrims invite you to small riverside shrine lit by saffron lanterns. Ritual, cast noodle skein from Brother Pavo into water. Retrieve after exactly 33 heartbeats, symbolizing life's twists. Cook recovered noodle in communal pot with crayfish tails, pistachio crumbs, and ginger beer foam. Hybrid ramen emits scent of pan-Eurasian diplomacy. Slurp with humility. Declare world peace possible through carbs. 8. Night transport on Firefly. Ferry return journey to Hopswell by flat skiff hung with jars of glowworms, bioluminescent lanterns tax exempt. Ferryman brews night bloom tea. Black tea infused with jasmine, mint, and a spoon of molten marzipan for sweetness. Sip under starlight. River mirror reflects desert armor moon. 9. Midnight snack market Papa Popswell Square resurrects nightly. Vendor row, crayfish bisque, shots leftover tails blitzed with almond milk. Served in hollow ginger snaps. Noodle knot pretzels. Yesterday's wheat noodles twisted. Baked, salted, honey hazel truffle balls, condensed fondue drizzled over chilled nuts. You sample all? Because duty 10. Final belly tally and forecast intake. Ledger. Aylorgan porridges, river ramen bowl, Closford honey crayfish, Pincerwick pepper crayfish, barley ice, marzipan shards, holy nachos, hybrid shrine soup, midnight bisque, truffle balls, body votes full, soul votes encore.